Funding is provided in part by the Institute of Museum and Library Services through the Library of Michigan. Hello, my name is Clifton. I work with the Digital Navigators program at Trenton Veterans Memorial Library in Trenton, Michigan. The program provides one-on-one support and training in technology for the library's patrons. This video is part of a series where we're going to look at some of the most common issues that are raised during our sessions and hopefully provide some helpful tips along the way. So let's go ahead and get started. In this video, we're going to be looking at an accessibility feature of Windows that allows us to adjust the size of text. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using the latest version of Windows 11, but most, if not all, of what you see here also applies to Windows 10. To get started, we need to open our Settings app. Now, there are several ways that we can go about doing that. I'll demonstrate a few here. The first thing I'm going to do is take my mouse pointer, and I'm going to place it over the Windows icon in the taskbar and left click. This brings up our start menu, and in our start menu we have a grid or list of icons that are links or shortcuts to applications we have installed. And these pinned shortcuts often, certainly if it's a default installation or you've recently set up your device, often and should include the Settings app. This is the icon for the Settings app. Now, if for whatever reason your grid of icons here, your shortcuts in your start menu don't include the Settings app, the next thing that we can do is just over to the right of the word pinned, you can see there is this button for all. And if we left click on that button, we get a list of all of our applications in alphabetical order. So if you scroll through this list, you should see under S, the Settings app. Another way to go about opening Settings is, let's say again, for whatever reason you are having difficulty finding the Settings app in your list of all applications, we can place our mouse pointer over the search field at the top of the start menu, left click so that we can type into it, and then we could simply type in the name of the application we're looking for. Again, in this case, we're looking for Settings. You can see after just typing part of the word, we're shown this search result. The very top search result is a link or shortcut to our Settings app. I'm going to go ahead and place my mouse cursor over that shortcut, that search result, and I'm going to left click. This will open our Settings app. Now, when you very first open your Settings app, it can be a little bit overwhelming. On the home page of Settings, there is a lot of information being displayed. We can simply ignore that for now because we're looking for a specific setting, and that setting is under Accessibility. On the left hand of the window, the Settings window, there is a column that lists various categories of settings. And if you place your mouse pointer over one of those categories and left click, it then goes into settings specific to that category. I'm going to go ahead and take my mouse pointer and place it over Accessibility and left click. And you can see that accessibility is then further broken down by category. For example, vision and hearing. There's also interaction. For now, we're going to focus at the very top setting under vision, which is text size. I'm going to place my mouse pointer over text size, and it can actually be placed anywhere along this button. And I'm going to left click. Once you do so, you'll be taken to the text size window or setting, and we can see up here that, again, it's under the accessibility category. Before we continue, I want to demonstrate briefly another way to locate a setting in the event that you, for example, did not know what category it fell under. So I'm going to go ahead, place my mouse pointer over Home and left click. This takes us back to the settings homepage. And this time I'm going to place my mouse pointer over the Find a Setting search bar at the top of the window and left click. Now we're able to type into that window, and I'm going to go ahead and search for text size. And you can see that we get a list of results here. The top result is typically the most relevant to your search. So I'm going to place my mouse pointer over that top search result that says text size and left click on it. And you can see it's taken us right back to the accessibility category and the text size setting. When searching for settings, you'll sometimes notice that an area of that setting, again, relevant to your search, is highlighted. In this instance, the adjustment slider for the text size has been highlighted. If you left click anywhere on the screen, that outline will disappear. So now that we've gotten to the setting, we can see that, or rather there's two things that we need to focus on. One is the text size preview, and the other is the text size adjustment slider. Now, in most instances, by default, it'll be set to 100%. Something to note is that making adjustments to the size of text is a process that relies on many different variables and can take some experimentation before you can find a setting that you're happy with. That can include things like the size of your display, the resolution of your display, how far back you're viewing your display. In our case, and what I suggest generally, is that you start making adjustments incrementally in small steps, and then living with that adjustment for a period of time, and then making additional changes. One thing that I think is important to note when making changes like this is nothing that we do here cannot be undone through the same process as having changed it. So if we make a change and we decide that it's not something we're happy with, going through this same process will simply allow us to either revert to what it was previously or make an additional change. So you don't have to worry about permanently altering anything. To actually adjust the size of text, we can simply take our mouse pointer and left click anywhere along the slider. You can see it is changing our preview text in real time. You can also left click and hold and drag along the slider. Dragging to the right increases the size of text. Dragging to the left decreases the size of text. Another thing to note is that while we can increase the size of text, we cannot decrease it, make it any smaller than 100%. So let's go ahead and make an adjustment. I'm going to take my mouse pointer, left click on the slider and hold, and I'm going to drag to, say, 120%. After doing that, I'm going to release my left click. And now we need to apply the adjustment. The apply button is just to the right of the adjustment slider. It can be a little bit difficult to see, but you can place your mouse pointer over apply, left click. You can see the screen goes blue there for a moment with the text, please wait. That's nothing to be concerned with, and it'll happen every time you make an adjustment. Now, that change has been made system-wide. You can see that the text in the categories list for settings is larger. To demonstrate that again, this time in a little bit more of a dramatic way, I'm going to increase the size of text to something like 200%. Again, I'm going to be left clicking and holding on the slider and pulling to the right until we get about where we want, 201%. Now I'm going to go ahead and again apply that change. Okay, so you can see the text is now much larger, but there are some challenges that come with making text or making large adjustments in the size of text. Again, depending on your screen's size and resolution. Some of those issues, for example, are displayed in the categories list in settings. You can see that the end of Bluetooth and devices has been cut off. If I take my mouse pointer down to the taskbar and I reopen the start menu, we can see that the labels for the shortcuts that are pinned in the start menu are also cut off. Now, if you place your mouse over one of these, you can see you get the rest of the text as a tooltip. But this is just one of the things to be aware of when you're increasing the size of text. Because the text is now taking up more space, less text can fit in the same area. And that's something that can come up. Again, this is a change that's made system-wide, so it may be something that you notice. And that's why, as I said, this is likely a setting that you'll need to or want to adjust several times until you find the best balance of issues or artifacts like what's happening in the categories menu here and readability. I'm going to go ahead and make one last change. I think I'm going to go to 115% this time. Again, left clicking on the slider and dragging to the left to lower the size of text. I'm then going to, again, left click on apply. And that is really the entire process. Once you're happy with the change that you've made, you can go ahead and close out of the settings application. So I'm going to take my mouse, move up to the upper right corner of the screen and left click on the close button. And that will take us back to our desktop. All right, so again, that was a look at adjusting the size of text in Windows, a great accessibility feature that can make a huge difference in readability in the operating system. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to like and subscribe to the library's channel and check out other videos in this series. For more information, please be sure to check the video's description. Thanks so much for watching.